Well, City of Heroes Rebirth private server is at it again. They have another update coming, issue 4, dealing with the Caldarian revamp. This is really interesting. The fact that it's happening only a couple months after the major update of issue 3 with the added 800 plus costume customizations, they're adding this one in, which is really nice. It's almost back-to-back content. This one's smaller, this one's more focused, and the fact that it's dealing with just one archetype, or should I say 2 archetypes, because this is dealing with the Warshades and the Peacebringers. But what's really cool is they're making changes to them to make them work better. So if you're a fan of the Peacebringer or the Warshades, you're really gonna like this update on Rebirth. So first off, I want to talk about some of the things they're doing. The toggles no longer turn off when shapeshifting into Nova or Dwarf forms. However, their effects, and they are granted an endurance to offset their endurance cost. This is a smart move. I like the fact that when you change forms, it doesn't turn off your toggle. So if you have all of your tank buffs on and then you switch to the blaster form, you're not losing all those tank buff toggles that you have to quickly turn back on. They're just being, in a way, it's being sort of like temporarily turned off by the code and saying, no, don't give these buffs. And then on top of that, since they're still running, it's zapping some endurance, so they're giving extra endurance that's equivalent to what the endurance is that's taking away from those buffs. And that's really smart move. That is a game developer enhancement move, and I like that. That's really cool and smart move. The next that they have here is Nova and Dwarf forms have been expanded, allowing them to round out their unique powers and abilities to playstyle. Details are down below. I'm going to be going over those details. They're going to be a bit of a spoiler. Don't worry for the spoilers. I have timestamps down below where you can skip the spoilers if you don't want any spoilers about this and you just want the base overflow of everything. So keep an eye on that. I'll let you know when the spoilers are about to happen. That way you can scroll down and click ahead. You'll also see in the time bar that there's shifts there too. If you hover over it, you'll see when the spoiler is over, because I'll have it spoiler 1, spoiler 2, and spoiler 3. Let's move on to the next thing. Travel powers can now be used in any form, but activating them on Nova form or Dwarf form will return the Caldarian to their original form. This is really cool. This allows the switch between each of them to be seamless. And there's a video here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video to show it off, but I'm not going to play it in this. I actually have it in another tab here, right here. I'm going to make it full screen, and so there we go. They started in a tank form, they went into super jump, they switched to the blaster form and flying around, then they switched to flight, then they switched back to tank, and now they're in super speed run. And look at how seamless that transition was. That was a really nice transitions that they did with those. And I've been in touch with Silver Age Fan, and they informed me that this was all done by code. They did not do any custom animations or anything like that. They just fussed with the code and adjusted the code and made changes to the code to make this all work better, which is a really nice enhancement and change of things that will work well. And there's future plans to use that later on. Next up is Null and Goal can now enable or disable the shapeshift pop-up tray. Really nice. Allows you to clean up your trays and stuff like that. Now I'm going to be going into the spoilers. This is where you want to take a look at the timeline. You'll see spoilers for Peacekeeper, Warshade, following powers that have been rebalanced. You'll see those 3 sections. You'll just want to go past those 3 sections into the next part where I'm going to be talking about things beyond issue 4. So that's going to be really, really cool. So first off, we have the Peacekeeper here. And there's a lot that's changed here. With this revamp, you no longer need to enhance your Nova or Dwarf powers separately. Instead, for example, when you slot and enhance your human form version of Gleaming Bolt, you will simultaneously be improving the Bright Nova Bolt used while in Nova form and following powers because of the redirect, allowing them changed while in Bright Nova form, slide first, and powers and stuff like that. So if you look at this, Gleaming Bolt will then become Bright Nova Bolt, and just, I mean, this is just really, really cool effect. It's the fact that you're not having to enhance and spend more enhancements on everything else on there. Now, yeah, a lot of you have been around for a while and may have a bunch of influence and enhancements to spend, but this is sort of nice for the newer players coming in. And the fact that you can use Glinting Eyes can now be used in Bright Nova form, Inner Light, Dawn Strike, and Reform Essence can all be used in that. In the Dwarf form, they talk about Radiant Strike, and the same thing with the Dwarf form, and that's really, really nice that they're doing that and enhancing that. And once again, Gleaming Bolt can be used while in Dwarf form, same with Glinting Eyes, Inner Light, Pulsar, Essence Boost, and Light form, which is nice. Then they go over the fact that they've rebalanced what level you get these abilities. So there's some changes in what levels you'll get them, which I'll have to play around with that and see how it feels. But the fact that they like to think what would the developers do in this situation is nice. They're not just throwing it out there. They're actually thinking things through and looking at this sort of separation. Everything's looking nice, but you sort of gotta play a feel with it and stuff like that. Now I want to move on to the next one, which is the Warshade. And the Warshade, it goes through the same thing with the Shadow Bolts and Ebon Eye and stuff like that to match with what the Peacebringer does, which is really, really nice. And you see that there's changes here, not as many for the Umbra Blast, and no changes were made to Umbra Aura. So it's probably they looked at that and said, well, this is good as is. There's no reason to change that. And why change something that doesn't need to be changed? There's no point. Just to change something for the fact to change and say you're unique isn't a real reason to do that. You want to do the change to have a specific impact, and a good impact. Next up, we have the following powers have been changed. They've made a lot of changes to the powers. You have the Glimmering Bolt, which increased the damage from 0.6 to 0.68. The recharge time has been changed from 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. The endurance cost has been changed from 3.12 seconds to 3.534 seconds. PvP normal form damage increased from 1.392 to 1.416 damage, and then Nova form damage increased from 1.812 to 1.836, and just so on. You can see a lot of this, and I have the link to all of this down below to this forum section, but you can see that they've done an increase to the power and damage that's been done. But not only with that power increase have they done, they've also adjusted the time it takes for these powers to reactivate and be usable again, and the endurance cost, and adjusted things like that. So it's not just, oh, we enhanced the damage and left everything else alone. No, they went through, enhanced the damage, but it's at a cost of recharge time and endurance. And there's slight costs sometimes major costs depending on how much they're increasing the damage. If it's a very minor increase like we have here with the Glimmering Bolt or the Bright Nova Bolt, you'll see that it's a small increase in damage, just a little bit. And so there's just a little bit of an increase in recharge time and endurance cost. Whereas if you have something like, say, right here, there's a nice change for the Bright Nova Blast, going from 1 to to 1.6. So they doubled up the time recharge, and they did a decent increase in endurance cost, which is understandable, and that's, you know, expected. Same thing with your White Dwarf strike. They didn't just pull these numbers out of random. They thought it through, and they did the same with Warshade to balance everything out. It's pretty much a same copy, but with the different effects and stuff like that. So they balanced both sides evenly and nicely. The next thing I want to talk about is something that's very, very interesting and very, very cool. And that is Silver Aged Fan gave me information of what's happening beyond issue 4. They are working on a lot of new skins, so more character customization, and this is really, really cool. Not like we haven't already gotten enough with the 800, but even more. And this deals with skin. They have Illuminist skins that they've worked on that really look great. If you're seeing on the screen, they're going to be rotating through them all, but there's ones that it's not just, oh, here it is and it's Illuminous, but it changes color based on your skin color. They have ones that have animated sand, and that's really nice, because if you want to be an earth elemental type character but you're tired of always being rock or plant, you now have sand skin. And Silver Age Fan says that these work with their new costume pieces that they made texture wise, with having the skin show up under the uniform and stuff like that. It's really cool because you were able to choose, like, oh, it's gonna look like rock, it's gonna look like a plant, or it's gonna look like a furry beast, things like that. These glowing skins and glowing effects and these sand effects look really, really nice. And you can even tweak the glowing one to give a ghostly look to it, which is really, really cool. As you see in some of these, you'll see the one with a bunch of armor on it and stuff like that flips through. They're holding the sword. That one is the one that has the ghostly shape. You also see one that is just pure black with some bats flapping around. The fact that they're taking their time and working on these different ones to give us all different feels to our characters, I can just see you all now happy and ecstatic, but pissed at the same time, because now you want to go in once this comes live and you're going to be making a bunch of new characters. And that's great. In all honesty, I'm in the same boat. I'm looking at these going, oh, I have an idea for this one, I have an idea for that one, and stuff like that. And it's really, really cool. So what I want to know is, are you excited about the Caldarian changes that they're making? Are you looking forward to playing on Rebirth for these changes? And are you interested in the changes that they've added into the skins and giving glowing skins and an animated sand skin? The animated sand skin looks really, really cool in my eyes. I'm thinking Sandman, you know, Spider-Man's enemy and stuff like that. Just, you know, mind-blowing. I can't wait to see what they work on even after this. And they gave me a few hints and nods, but I'm not going to share those. I'm not going to tease you guys that much. Just know that they have more planned even beyond these glowing skins and animated sand skins. I hope you all found this informative and helpful, and have a great day.